Hello, happy new year, and it's good to be back. It's another year, and of course, we're both looking forward to another year. Of course, if you're a Kenyan like me, you know how tough the previous year has been, Alan, right? we actually are glad to be here.
Yeah.
Of course, in the fields of the abductions and all those conversations around the demonstrations, from the finance bill and all the other things. Actually, some of us were really happy that they actually came to an end.
Yeah.
And it's good to be back. My name is Nick Canali, and welcome to another episode of our TechTrends podcast. This is actually the first season of the year, and it's actually season 3, episode 1. So quite interesting. So my name is Nick Canali, and welcome. Alan, how was your holiday?
Mine was good. Still, basically like you mentioned, trying to figure out and basically economy moving up and down. But generally I can't complain.
Yeah, I can't complain. But of course, the year was actually very, very tough, right? And I remember we closed the office, I think on 23rd. I traveled to Western Kenya on 23rd, came back to Nairobi on 29th. Not actually a very long break. I wish it was longer.
Yeah.
Of course, again, we have to work, and it's quite an exciting year. Of course, we look forward to see what the year
has to bring.
Of course, especially here for us here, the TechTrends, based on the nature of our work, there's so many things to look forward to, and we are happy to be back. So welcome again. My name is Nick Canali.
My name is Allan,
and of course we look forward to more of these episodes. We're going to be trying to be doing an episode every Wednesday, so expect an episode of the TechTrends podcast going live every Friday, every week. And of course, we're looking forward to having this conversation around tech in Africa, talking to industry leaders, and basically all the other things that we need to know about what is happening in the tech space in Africa, because that's basically what we cover here at the company. So we, we are biased for tech. We try to actually make sure we do that. So Alan, let's start and talk about last year. So as I said earlier, last year was quite a very interesting year. And interesting and tough at the same time.
Yeah.
So we had the protest, the finance bill. We had, of course, a lot of
like the government also trying to tap into how to tax the digital economy.
Exactly.
Freelancers.
So a lot of things that happened within the tech ecosystem. And actually, when you look, for example, even from the protests, there was tech involved.
The social media and memes.
Exactly. Memes or memes. So there's tech involved. And of course, these are the things that we look forward to seeing them happen even more. Because when you look at what is happening in the country right now, there's some form of rebellion. There's some form of anger. People are just angry at the government. And what they're using, they're trying to do is actually trying to, people are trying to go less on the streets, but more powerful online. And it's actually working.
Yeah, still also the government is trying to figure out the adoption. Because it's right now service delivery online. It's no longer something the government can ignore anymore. So if there will be improvements in service delivery, collection of revenues. So last year was also sort of like, I would say, on one hand, the government was trying to figure itself out in terms of how to use tech to be able to, 1, collect more, 2, ease in the service delivery to citizens, then 3, fasten like the speed at which communication was going. Because I felt like the communication team wasn't really up to speed with especially with Gen Z. Like the information was moving so fast. By the time the government is responding, people have already gotten different messages.
Exactly. In fact, I remember when the president was talking, actually, seeing him talk and appear on this press briefing or State of the Nation addresses. And one of the things I think he kept talking about was how his team was failing him in terms of communicating what they're doing. And I think that's why, we've seen, for example, people complain like, we're not seeing what you're doing. I mean, you've been 2 years now, 3 years in power, but there's nothing they can see. But the president kept insisting, there's something we are doing, right? But I think it's just the communication bit.
Because I think generally with the traditional media, I think majorly it's been like the president has to wait for like a function for him to address. But this time, especially last year, by the time he gets a function in Murang'a, guys have already gotten the information. People have discussed the topic. By the time he's coming to talk about that topic, we're already moving to another topic. So it's like, now what we are speaking and what we are currently discussing, they are totally
different things.
Different things. So like, I think this year, that's one also, I think we will discuss that it has to be something that, especially in terms of like even addressing issues, it has to be real time. So unless, because I don't think it's no longer, the issue is not about like what has been done and not done. The issue is about how effective has communication been and how current is it. Because people are now reading, you go like Twitter stories and all that. So by the time you are waiting for president to have a function, press briefing. So maybe this time, maybe it might be time to take challenge and speak and have like the president go live on Twitter Spaces, have a forum and all that. So that integration has to be there.
Yeah, and also that tells you how powerful the digital media space, how powerful the new, let me call it the new media space that's growing in Kenya. We have a lot of powerful influencers, a lot of big digital publishers, like what we do here, for example, at TechTrends. We tend to break news before even the legacy media picks it. I'll see an interesting story on tech. I'll see an interesting story, for example, the ICT CS. The ICT CS? Where apparently we're getting Kabogo as the new ICT CS. So, wow. So
I'm still adapting.
I know, So, for example, now Kabogo will say something, then I'll run to tweet that, or I'll run to actually publish that before the legacy media picks it, the likes of the Standard. And that tells you how powerful new media has become. We've seen a lot of digital publishers, bloggers, a lot of influencers coming up, and that was actually one of the biggest forces we saw during the Mandamano.
And the digital commerce.
Exactly.
Also, it's now even like fundraising tech is also enabling like now people are able to raise funds much efficiently, faster than for which basically I would say like more things have to move online. And and then the one thing we were forgetting about is more on also the AI revolution. It started off as big data. It went into machine learning. Now it's AI, and it's in our face.
Yes, we can't run away from that. Actually.
We can't run away. It started as a test. Now people are like, I don't know how. When I was starting on using ChatGPT, like I didn't imagine
it should be that powerful.
It would be that powerful.
So.
And that moves us to like also things like privacy. We have seen like now how China is using AI to like perfectly target services, and even the intelligence service being able to know, these incidents. So but of course even Africa, for instance, like right now also even in Kenya, it's now CCTV footage has been used to be able to identify who made the abductions.
Exactly.
So now it's no longer an issue of like, we are just recording. No, we can easily get that clip without having to go to intelligence.
Exactly. And it's good you mention that, because even when you see the reason why these young people are being abducted is because they're using AI to generate images of of a politician, the president, being in all this TED, and also about AI. So it's 2025, Allan, and of course, as I said at the beginning of this podcast, we're all excited about this year.
Things like optimism.
Optimism will be there. Of course it happens. Tunasemanga mwaka ikianza, hii ni mwaka yangu, is there. So of course we're all excited about this year, and there are so many things to look forward to, especially in Kenya, right here. So we've seen, of course, you mentioned earlier about digitization, and you talked about how the government is digitizing stuff. We've seen, of course, AI being, a very big thing. And one thing I want to talk about is where we are right now as a country.
A country.
So I remember when we were doing the research about what we're going to be talking about for this podcast, one of the first point we want to talk about was how connectivity has expanded in Kenya. How connectivity has expanded in Kenya. So right now, we've seen about the guy I'm talking about. I was just reading an article from some stuff from the Communication Authority. So these were press release that was sent actually last year, in September, I think. So CA was talking about how they're financing the laying of 2,500 kilometers of fiber across 19 counties at a cost of 5 billion to enhance internet access to rural areas, rural Kenya. And here's what I like about it. So I come from Kitale, that's my home area. And when I was at home, one of the things that makes me even go home less often is because how bad connectivity is. Trust me, I really struggle using Safaricom internet when at home. Nikifika nyumbani, my phone, I have to switch to 3G actually so that I'm able to even access anything. And I remember sending a message to Safaricom. And it wasn't the first time I was doing it. So the first time I did it, waliniambia, we need to talk to CA, your area. We need to bring another, tunazitanga booster kwetu. We need to. So a lot of we need to get approval to CA to actually do that. And that's why when I see the guy talking about laying about kilometers of this amount of fiber, fiber kilometers, it's quite exciting because when things like this happen, when I'm at home, I can't open my laptop to work. In Shags, I can't, stream. I can't.
And major things we are used to in town.
In town,
saizi ukiingia tu after work, even sahi, especially for me, I no longer watch like Citizen TV on television. I just go to YouTube live.
And stream live,
So I'm imagining like I'm in Shags and then I can't watch news. I have to wait for all those. Have to wait to watch on TV. Sometimes now you are working, you are on Spotify, listening to like a podcast. Now in Shags you have to adopt to the option of having to go offline.
Unless you go to the closest shopping center for us, at least up we can get some little 3G or 4G. I might have to go all the way to Kitale town or Eldoret town. It's actually quite a distance from my home area. And Airtel tries. That's why I carried my Airtel router 5G. So it's what I was using actually nikiwa nyumbani to stream. So that bit about connectivity is what I think we are hoping it to improve this year. Safaricom has been big with home fiber. So you're hoping to see them expand to other areas as well this year. What else?
Maybe also ni poa kuongelea like the expansion of 5G.
5G, yes.
And what the potential is. I remember 5G kikuja, there was a aspect of 5G, the boosters will have effect on the
those conspiracy theories
and all that. I gone on a videos guys saying they were nose bleeding. So I'm just wondering like why I haven't started nose bleeding. And
I know. I mean, those are just the usual conspiracy theories that we are used
to. I think it's more of as connectivity expands, I think it's going to now become normal, just like 4G the way you go. But most of all, it means like we started off saying, if we are going to have improved communication, then connectivity has to be there.
It has to be there,
And so far, I think I'm excited with the government stepping in. So far, it has been more of private companies coming in, Liquid Telecom pushing their way. Safaricom trying their way.
Airtel
trying their way. So with the boost of the government, it means now like the dream of basically the digital economy then becomes reality. Because otherwise, most of us are enjoying the benefits of connectivity in town.
Exactly.
So you start going outside, then you realize how bad internet connectivity is.
I know, because we can't be talking about the digital economy, like what the government really pushes, without us addressing connectivity issues. And just still on 5G, last year I remember I did an article about, so CA released a report, that is Communication Authority, about where we are when it comes to 5G mobile subscriptions. And they were talking about how, as a country, we approached actually 5G mobile connectivity or subscriptions. We are approaching the 1 million mark, actually. So as of actually October of last year, Kenya had 739,739. I don't know, actually more than 739,000 5G mobile subscriptions. So that was actually lower compared to the existing 29. So 4G connections is like 29 million.
29 million.
Yes, 4G connections are more than 29 million, almost approaching 30. And 5G we are at 739, which is not a bad figure compared. I mean, 5G ilikuja Kenya just the other year. And the biggest player here, of course, are Safaricom and Airtel. Right?
What happened to Telco?
I don't know what happened to Telcom. I think after
there was more on the restructuring.
So of course we know what happened with when Uhuru left power. All those stories were there. We covered that. So since then, the last time I heard is they were looking for an investor, which I guess they found one. So I think my contact there was telling me how they're waiting for the other investor to show up and for them to start.
I think it was in this. I've seen like with the privatization of companies and parastatals, and I think one of my challenge to even like the new CS coming in
Kabogo.
is to if he can revive
Telcom
to sort of like be a competitor, not necessarily now like come in as a competitor. Put a little bit more investment into, because I think they had tried with the rebranding, they tried with mobile money, but then if Telcom can't compete, especially like in new fields, AI, 5G for business and all that, it will be a bit hard to sustain the company.
Exactly.
So
I think it's always very sad to see what is happening to Telcom. We've worked with Telcom actually a couple of years, and we're trying to actually push content for them, and very good work. And when you look at Safaricom, what I always hear, or what I know, Safaricom evolved from Telcom. It was just like an office up, like a department up at Telcom, and look at where they are right now.
Also the biggest part is the organizational management also has to play. Then in terms of customer service and the need to expand, it's there, but then it has to sort of like operate with efficiency. You see, Airtel will try to operate with efficiency. Safaricom tries to operate with efficiency. But then when it comes to Telcom, you struggle to like, what do you like Telcom for? Here, like Airtel is what's the main tagline? It's more
Airtel.
The smartphone network.
The smart net. Okay, nimesahau honestly. The smart network, the smartphone network.
The smartphone network.
Yeah, I think
Which means they want to push, which is why they want to go beyond like the urban areas and all that, and trying to compete within the market. Safaricom, of course, they try to always be on the customer side. Like whatever the customer needs, Safaricom provides. So you see, you have sort of like now the struggle be within the new the new tech as it evolves, where does telecom stand?
Yep.
So if I would say like for 2025, that now not going waiting for the investor and all that, it's more of what is where does telecom stand within the connectivity part, communication and all that. And I think because I sort of like personally really miss seeing telecom. Now it's more of like you'd be like, are they in mobile money? Because we have seen less telecom money. Are they in connectivity? Like when it comes to like, for instance, 5G, where is telecom? When it comes to
mobile
money, T-cash, where is it? So you see like, and with that, I think majorly it should be because unless now if a CA is investing in putting the broadband connectivity, but then which means telecom should really benefit more from that, given the infrastructure is being put on, right, and having to invest. I think that's would be my major challenge on as we get started.
Yes, Allan, I want us to take a break because there's so many things we are talking about telecom and Safaricom, and of course, especially telecom. But I want us to take a break, and when we come back, I want us to address the last two things. So there's the fintech space and e-commerce. So see you in a sec. All right, so welcome back. So Allan, I mentioned before we went to the break, or for the break, that these last two parts we're going to cover is about fintech and e-commerce, right?
E-commerce, yeah.
So those two things really go hand in hand. Of course, in Kenya, when someone talk about fintech, first thing that comes to their mind is M-Pesa, right? But in recent, there's so many other fintech platforms in the country. Currently, when you look at my phone, I have so many fintech apps that I use, of course, apart from M-Pesa. M-Pesa, there's another app called Cashlet that I use, which really disappointed me the other day. I have Hisa, I have so many fintech startups that are actually existing in the country. But I want to talk about, of course, where we are right now. So M-Pesa is actually turning 18 this year. And I remember last year, just when we were about to break for the holidays, they sent a statement, and I remember us covering that story about hitting 34 million customers in Kenya alone. Yes. In Kenya alone. That's a very big number.
That's a big number. Yeah.
Yes, a very big number. So what I'm not sure is this number covering both merchants or till, including as the usual customer just use M-Pesa to send and receive money.
Yes, in general.
Yeah, but still 34 million is a very, very, very big number.
Yeah, because that's like 70% of the Kenyan population.
Yeah. Yes.
Using M-Pesa.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And they're turning 18 in March this year, and I'm hoping they're gonna be having a big celebration on that as well, because they are finally okay, they're still teenagers, still teenagers, but yeah, they're turning 18 in March, and of course over the years you've seen the platform evolve into beyond just offering payments.
Yeah, the transactions. Other day I was reading, not sure if I remember on Twitter someone mentioning they plan to sort of like integrate USD into the platform.
I saw that. But then, okay, that's good, because we've seen, they're evolving. Maybe these are things, it's one of the things that are going to be one of the biggest announcements they're going to be making as they turn 18.
Yeah, and then I also saw on global, there's also integration of additional currencies, euros, USD.
Yeah.
So I think it's evolving really fast. Now I'm not sure whether really we can do without M-Pesa.
Yeah, because actually right now, even when we see, as we talk about fintechs, most of these fintech startups in Kenya, most of them really rely on M-Pesa. I use Loop. When I want to make Loop payments, use Loop as well.
Yeah.
When you make Loop payments, M-Pesa lazima ikuwe tu hapo.
Yeah.
Even some of these banking apps,
Yeah.
we always talk about squeezy banks and now evolving from being banks to being fintechs. That's why
yeah. So I want to talk about something a bit controversial.
Yeah.
Na hiyo nimeiona for me, I'm a business consultant, so I'm more keen on changes. So there's this aspect of the government wanting to use M-Pesa till and pay bills as ETRs.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That's a conversation we need to have. Yeah.
So that's like
a tax invoice.
Yeah. Because now there's the aspect of if we are to use M-Pesa till pay bill as ETRs, how do we, because in most cases sometimes people not necessarily using tills and pay bills as just for business.
Yeah.
So you'll find someone is doing service and they want to use till. So now I won't disclose how business people are adapting, but that has sort of like come off. I don't know where. Maybe it's something also the communication team has to do to address, because I feel KRA brings new changes of how they want to tax, but then the communication doesn't come out clearly. And it's sort of like personally, like it comes out as it's like guys are now used to like, hey, government inatafuta sasa kwenye tena itatoa pesa. So like sasa unaenda kutumia mtu pesa kwa till anakuambia hey, achana tunaye cash. So itakuwa very important also sort of like if we are going to integrate receiving money through till na pay bills, then hiyo fear ya wakianza sasa kuangalia till number yangu na labda hii till number nilianza kuitumia hata for maybe even before I set up the business na nini. So you see, it means lazima watarudi sasa kwa statements za kitambo.
Yes.
Right?
Backdate. I mean, that's what KRA does, yeah.
Which now mzana angalia naona hata fadhali sasa nifunge. Guys have closed.
Yeah.
Which means like iko na effect when the government rolls out a sudden change to tax, especially touching on like the way you receive and send money, without having sort of like, you see, these are the things to have town halls to discuss about the implications on the economy. And I feel that's what affected much in terms of transactions, because the moment you introduce sudden changes to tax, then it means by the time the business community is adopting, you have lost millions of money. So it has to be sort of like for this year, I would say as business people, there's expectation of the government has to be consultative instead of directive, because otherwise if you see Safaricom or gava inaona okay, watu wana transact na Safaricom sana, awacha tupeleke. Then badala sasa ya watu kutransact, wase wanatoa hizo
exactly.
So you make now Safaricom ambayo ilikuwa inalipa tax vizuri
because the biggest taxpayers.
You see, the Safaricom which was paying good tax revenues because of the gains from these till numbers and pay bills starts losing money, which means instead of now that law helping the government to generate more money, then inakuwa in reverse. And many of the laws and tax changes that were introduced in 2024, you will realize zilikuwa na reverse effect. So instead of generating more money,
kept,
you make the business people or even the citizens sort of like find alternatives. And if like tech has to be, yes, an enabler. It has to be an enabler. At the end of the day, it has to be an enabler.
Yeah.
But now you have to be consultative instead of just like naamka asubuhi nasoma till namba itaanza kutumika kama TR.
In fact, Safaricom were really against this. And remember when they issued a statement.
Oh, they did, yeah.
Yes, they actually opposed it. I'm just reading an article here from Nairobi Law Monthly.
Yeah.
So Safaricom warned that this could disrupt the progress made in digitizing payments.
Yeah.
Just as you said here, tech should be an enabler. So when you try to make laws that actually oppress that, people start to go cashless.
Because at the end of the day, hakuna mwananchi mwenye hataki kutoa tax.
Yes.
But kama una tax ile kidogo yenye by the time biashara yangu ina adjust, umeshatoa ingine. Unaona? It means inabidi nimeanza kufigure out sasa we badala ya M-Pesa we nipe tu cash.
Yes.
Unaona? Of which we have seen like nchi zenye zinatumia cash, how badly service delivery inaenda kukua. Because I feel for many business people, everyone wants to adapt. But if especially like the digital aspect, when it comes to taxing, imekuwa ngumu kujua like tomorrow, kesho changes gani tena inakuja. Unaona? Ile yani we don't have time. We don't have time ya kuadapt to one tax change.
Yeah.
6 months, kidogo 3 months unasikia another one
law,
imeintroduciwa, exactly. Kidogo another. So you're like, is the management not really having operated? For instance, this year, we are starting this year, right? We would expect, for instance, KRA to communicate the strategic plan yenye iko nayo towards the tax changes zenye tuta expect, ama how we can work better na KRA. Because I feel hapo ndio economy ya last year ili affectiwa.
Basically, what you're talking about is public participation. Because ukiangalia last year when we went to the streets, the Gen Zers working the streets, one of the biggest thing we were complaining was like, you want this, but what was the public participation? You have scholars in a town hall kutuambia, okay, this we want to raise more revenue as KRA, as government. We are proposing these laws. What are your thoughts? The problem is the way we do public participations. So it's like, let's just do it because it's supposed to do it.
Una explain, but then at the back of the mind ya wananchi wanasema
hata msha decide, unaona?
Msha decide sasa hii ni sisi tu tuna sort of like tunatumika
confirm to like
then also ile just like I mentioned ile hakuna mtu mwenye hataki kutoa tax.
Yes.
At the end of the day, you know the country runs on taxes. Lakini ile the fastness and also implementation before asking, so ujui next month ni changes gani takuja. Another month, another change. Another month. So sa ile kabla mfuko yako hata ijaze upata hata hiyo revenue ikuwe consistent, kitu ingine ya kutoa. Because at the end of the day in business, you are always, every business person ako careful on the expense. And the tax is an expense. Interest is an expense. So uki-affect interest, ama affect the tax level, na sa hiyo hapo juu naona, because sahi kila mtu analia like biashara imekuwa, unaona? So because mfuko already tunatoa more than tuna generate. You get? So hata uki-invest, if you can't give people predictability, this is how saizi tuko used. Sahi unaona VAT, no one talks about it because VAT imekuwa miaka nenda miaka rudi. It's predictable.
And people know they have to, I mean, if you're doing, you just have to pay VAT.
It's predictable. But then with these other introductions, ni 3 months, another introduction, 3 months. So I felt like that part we really need to address.
We need to address. I think that's why I was reading a meme the other day. You know, if you're a Kenyan saizi, if I meet a friend, saizi mwambia saizi happy new year, mwambia survive another year. It's just because how tough the economy is and how tough things are. And vitu kama vitu tumesema public participation. I think what the government does that just for formalities. I know I'm not supposed to go political, but look, for example, what they did during the impeachment of the DP Gachagua. Walisema, okay, let's do participation, public participations. These are my town halls happened. Of course, Kenya were not supporting it. Not that they like the guy, no, but si tunampenda sana, tutumdefend. But it's just like how, the process was done.
Already ilikuwa like,
ilikuwa, but like, let's do participation. Watu wakasema hapana, but walisema ukiingia when they were doing the in parliament and senate, the citizens almost 90% hiti walisema no, he has to be impeached. So for them, public participations for any other thing could be finance bill, could be now impeachment, could be any other law that the government wants to introduce. They just do public participation for formalities too. Nothing much.
Because I think what we for this year and even moving forward, the government has to work efficiently in terms of what the departments, the ministries are doing and what the president is communicating. Ni kama saa hizi, TechTrends, when you're CEO, so we are looking up to you to like communicate and not just give directive. Sisi kama government tunafanya. It's more of like, mimi kama CEO wenu, nafikiria hivi. Hii mwaka, for instance, I was looking at the presidential address. The optimism. Honestly, like, you see, like, as the CEO, I was looking at, what do we, twende wapi? No. We are looking at the president guiding us, and then the ministry is now being the implementation arms. But you'll find the ministry has done this. The president is giving, bado anapewa going, yes, therefore the agenda ya administration iko hapo, but then the effectiveness in terms of implementation.
And
now where appear, for instance, I'll go, for instance, refer to like Ibrahim Traore. You'll see many people don't know him, but despite him being a military man, he's one of the leaders mwenye nimeona ko consultative kwa wananchi, and it's bearing fruit. So it's more of, we have to look at the president as our leader, and then tusiendelee kuona kama ako against us. Let us have zile communication kwenye tuko, and then also tuende polepole na kulingana na kwenye economy iko. Unaona? Because kama saizi we have to increase the taxes ndio tuishi poa, biashara zi improve. How are we moving? Is the president aware of how the business is? Because hiyo ni maswali inalinga like, atujao kama saizi ni plan ya, for instance, healthcare. Okay, the government has it, but who is the government? Is the government, basically government ni for the people, by the people. I know to switch kidogo, but I think in terms of just communication, I think it's also one thing about fintech is now just cycling back to where we left. On tumesema how gava is so bad communication, how fintechs, kuna kitu naonanga hapa, almost all the fintechs are doing the same thing. So maybe we need to have a clear communication what this fintech is doing, what this is doing, because squeezy, there are so many fintechs coming up. So then also mobile lending.
Mobile lendings, investments, wellness. So many things.
Which, because I think everywhere now with especially with AI, it's much easier to like integrate.
Exactly.
And if especially for like this year, it has now, 2024 we had AI being now tested, and then by the end of the year it was clear we can't do away with it, and it's now being integrated within every services that we had, online money transfer, also like for instance money lenders are now integrating like AI in terms of instead of depending on CRB rentings, they are able to like
just study user behaviors and everything.
Study user behavior. and all that.
Yeah. It's so our last part of the podcast of this first episode is, of course, when you talk about fintech, we can't ignore e-commerce.
Yeah.
Of course, kitambo, I remember the first episode we ever did that went viral was when we discussed about if Jumia is a Kenyan startup or not.
Yeah.
And that was only years back. And as over the years, as the e-commerce state has grown, squeezy Jumia, it's I don't know. We hear less of Jumia these days than we used to do kitambo.
Yeah.
And that tells you how much the ecosystem has changed. Before we came to this podcast, I remember sending out a post, a tweet, or either an X.
An X.
An X or a tweet.
Yeah.
So my question was, when was the last time you made a purchase on Jumia?
On Jumia.
The closest someone in Juicy was just before Christmas. Another one said 2 years ago. Another one said 2015. It was the first and last. Another one 3 years ago. Then another one says last year, November. Then another one here, his name Makteja, says 2 years ago. And that tells you a lot of things. Even for me, the last few purchases I've made through Instagram shop, Facebook Marketplace. I mean, why is this changing? Why are people moving from e-commerce websites and going to Instagram shops? Is it a trend we should see growing this year?
Yeah, because there's a, now, in terms of shopping, the social connection. For instance, most people are now spending time on Instagram.
Yeah, exactly.
TikTok. Facebook. So if I see your content, I'm used to your content, and you have something you are selling, that closeness is much powerful. Familiarity. So easy. If especially with the growth, like content creation, that familiarity. So with me consuming your content, maybe even now getting used to you, that trust. The same way we go like to a marketplace, necessarily you don't buy from me in the market because of any other thing. It's about you trust. You are able to feel. You are able to feel the product much easier. I'm able to explain to you much easier. So now, with for instance, Jumia, you'll go. They have left the process of sort of like selecting products to be more of, you just scroll through. Like you don't have time to go read through the reviews, go read through the about section. You don't have time to go look who is the vendor. You just get photos.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's no much.
You can't interact with the product.
Interaction.
Interact with the product. Because I think that's where most of these e-commerce, social media media shops, let me call them, like I can sellers on Instagram, on TikTok, that's where they win. Even Gigi, like I like how Gigi's model of working. Gigi, you will see a product, go meet the seller, uone ndio hii, ndio ulipe.
So we're still Africans. At the end of the day, we believe and see, and then like the trust is built within. If I know Nick and I need, Nick sells phones, I'll call you. I don't have time to say, okay, maybe let me go on Jumia and look at the ratings and all that. It's more of like, when I come across your product, I know you, then it's much easier to purchase. The same with like Facebook Marketplace. I'll go through. It's very quick. This is the price. This is the person selling. I can go to your profile and verify whether you are a genuine person selling, or which is something you miss from the e-commerce website. Then with I feel like they have to change the tactic of the tactic of their marketing strategy in terms of it's not all about ads. You have to integrate now the aspect of social selling. If I'm selling on Jumia, how much am I involved in the advertising of my product? How much am I involved in that? Because if I'm not involved and I'm selling the same product, on my Instagram shop, where will people find me? It's on Instagram. And if you can buy directly from me, why should I give a commission to Jumia?
Yeah, exactly. And also that's why you always find most of these Instagram shops, they have a lot of return clients because this is a seller that I bought product X, and if I see they sell another product, if they sold me a good product, I'll go back for another product.
Yeah.
Because, for this e-commerce, for example, Jumia or this other product, even Gigi, for example.
Sky Garden.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if
they have different merchants.
Yeah.
So unapata merchants have listed different products, and also a merchant has product X, this other merchant has the same product X, but prices they're varying.
Because you see, like Amazon, like these platforms have to sort of like for some time study the Amazon services. When you buy something from Amazon, it's not about reviews.
Yeah.
You always have seen like people know who is selling. Yeah. It's verified. And then also there's a aspect of like interacting with the person.
Yeah.
So even when they are advertising their products, it's not about the platform. It's about who is selling this product and how much, like they have invested in understanding how much have you sold through us.
So these actually sellers or these merchants, there's some serious vetting that goes on before they're actually onboarded to their platform.
Yeah. Then also on long term, what is the customer value getting? Like, have I sold enough? Like, can I trust that if I put this product and I don't do the social selling on my Instagram, on my Facebook, can I trust people will buy more?
Wow. All right. And we hope this is the year we actually buy more. Thank you so much, Allan. I think, for the first episode of this year, of season 3 of the TechTrends podcast, these are the conversations we're going to be having as we move forward. And this episode goes live on Friday. So every Friday, we'll be having an episode of the TechTrends podcast going live, talking about tech in Africa, tech in Kenya, and of course, talking about regulations and every other topic that might interest you in tech. Thank you so much for watching and for listening to this podcast on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on YouTube, or any other platform you may be streaming with. My name is Nick Kanali.
Yeah, so basically tech affects everything from the government to business, to finance, consumer goods, and all that. And I'm excited, like us being able to integrate, discuss, and review like what to expect, because this year, honestly, like everyone has to understand how tech affects them.
Yes.
It's exciting, like for us to be able now to discuss these issues, how tech is being used in our lives, how you can use tech to improve your life, and basically also brands, to chanue brands what they are doing best and what they are doing they are missing. And so we hope like you make the TechTrends podcast you are every Friday come, we'll have new content, fresh
and interesting guests
to basically to chambue and also to chanwane. Like if you have a topic you feel like you'd like us to discuss and or even you would like to feature on this podcast, give us a shout out, especially on Twitter. Nick is very active.
But I try.
Facebook I'm very active. LinkedIn I'm very active. So we look forward to interacting, and also if you have some feedback regarding how we can improve this podcast, especially this year, and grow, feel free. So as we move, we'll introduce more more and more topics. We'll also have the polls, of course, like as we have been doing. And so we look forward and we are excited for 2025. So my name is Allan. See you in the next podcast.
Episode. Right.